Welcome to Outlaws Dreams. This is your boy, the True Triple Seven. Let's get to it. Now, look. I'm going to talk about the PlayStation Pro. That's what's going on, and I have a little bit to say on it. I got my 2 cents to throw in the ring, but I really want to just going to let you know I'm going to be rambling and talking about a bunch of different things, kind of be all over the place because the PlayStation Pro put me in a mindset where it made me think about a lot of things that's going on with Sony that I'm happy with, and then at the same time dissatisfied with. And I've been there with the PlayStation 5 like this the whole generation, and the PlayStation 5 just furthered that feeling of being satisfied and also being extremely disappointed. You know what I mean? First thing I'll say is I don't care about the PlayStation Price Pro. I'm not buying it for $700 specifically, and only because they did not do anything in that initial reveal to sell me on it, right? Like what I was looking forward to hearing is okay, the better ray tracing is cool. I like the Gran Turismo car shading and things. When Forza said they was going to do that, Moses Motorsports said they were going to do that, and I thought that was cool. So Gran Turismo having it is cool. Now I know Forza did not, Motorsport did not accomplish that task, but I know when Sony does something, it'll actually come to fruition. So that was cool. But the one thing I was looking to hear is guaranteed 60. You know what I'm saying? At least 1440p upscaled to whatever 4K, right? Just upscaled 4K or whatever, as close as you can get that 4K. But I absolutely 100% was looking to hear every game from here on out new is going to be 60 frames, no compromise, Xbox type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't trying to be funny. I really was looking forward to hearing that, right? I didn't really care what the price was. I just wanted to hear that, 60 frames, 120, for a lot of games, but 60 frames on pretty much most games to all games, no matter what. And yeah, they didn't really tell me anything like that. They didn't really guarantee me much or anything. They just said, hey, we got these three new technologies, and they'll help build a PlayStation Pro console that'll somewhat be like this console where we're going to have, you don't have as many selections because you don't need them. You know what I'm saying? So you don't really need a performance mode, a fidelity mode, an in-between mode, and 5 different modes. It's just going to be one mode for that game because that just 60 and upscale 4K guaranteed on that game, and that's just what it is, right? Or a game that doesn't require as much uh, power to graphically or whatever. So this game's 120 upscale 4K or a native 4K because it's some indie game like Dave the Diver or whatever, and that's a guarantee or whatever. But yeah, they just did such a lackluster job of presenting images that and videos that gave you a good idea of how much better it can be. It did a terrible job for me of presenting to me things that I was looking forward to, something like a PlayStation Pro having. So yeah, man, I just found it lackluster. I found it lackadaisical, and I just wasn't impressed whatsoever. Doesn't mean I can't be impressed later, but I said until they impress me, or until I get full details or more in-depth videos on this machine, I'm okay. I'll hold off. Now, if they somehow this year come out and say Grand Theft Auto will guarantee run at 60 frames. Grand Theft Auto 6 will guaranteed run at 60 frames and up. Lock 60 frames and up. Locked. Not dipping, but locked 60 frames and up. You know what I'm saying? At a 1440p, maybe a little lower, or maybe some kind of, like I said, upscaling thing that definitely isn't going to reach 4K, then I'm buying this $700 off Jump Street. I don't care about PC. I don't want to build a PC. I don't care about PC. I will, if PlayStation went away and Xbox destroyed them, I would play on Xbox without even thinking twice. It's not going to bother me, right? I will miss some features and would say I hope Xbox takes some of the features that PlayStation has that they don't, like Share Factory, Share Play, and a couple other things I can name that I'm not going to go all through, but you know what I mean? And I would hope, they adopt the PlayStation controller while also having the Xbox controller. Probably would never happen if Xbox One and they were the only system, but I would be fine because I could still play on the Xbox controller. I just prefer parallel sticks over catacorn sticks, and that's just me. That's it. Um, as far as so I would have no problem playing on Xbox whatsoever. Um, I'm not a big fan of their first party games, but they still get all the third party games, so I'll be gully. I ain't tripping. Um, Same thing with Nintendo. I don't care. I don't care if they still stayed under power and they was the only ones in it. I still would be cool. Like I still play a decent amount of Switch games. I enjoy it. I don't care if you think it's for kids or I just don't care, bro. I don't work for Sony, and your opinions don't affect my habits of what I'm gonna do. Like maybe if I'm debating and somebody's just saying frivolous, stupid stuff, and I get a little lost in it, yeah, sure. Like you might catch me off guard. I ain't even gonna front like that's not the case. But um, yeah, man, I'll just not. It's not a big deal with me. You know, you catch me off guard, I'll catch myself, get myself back under control, and go, yeah, it's not like I don't care. So, with that being said, like the $700 price tag, just they just didn't do a good job. And I think the consensus with just regular people, not haters, not people trying to convince you to buy a PC. I'm just saying with just the consensus with regular people, I truly do believe is just like, yeah, man, like you didn't do anything to make us want it, right? And I get my PlayStation Brothers on 60 Frames No Lag podcast with Porter Rock. I'm on there from time to time. Go check them out even when I'm not on there. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, they're PlayStation super fans and fanboys and stuff and fans. And at the end of the day, they're gonna buy it regardless if it fit the bill of like doing games better, and it was like $600 to $700. So it's already in the range that they were willing to buy it for. And from what they seen, they was excited, but it didn't do nothing for me. You know what I mean? And for the people that's gonna buy it, PlayStation fans at least 10,000 strong. Like the core fans are like 10,000. I'm tripping. 10 million strong. Kind of like Bethesda fan base is like 10 million strong. I think that Nintendo's fan base is a lot bigger, but good thing they're not very confrontational. Although like lately, a few of them have been squawking a little bit more, and it's like, please shut up. But regardless of the matter, I just I just don't care. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, if they show me Grand Theft Auto at 60 frames locked, you know what I'm saying, with a decent resolution, then yeah, like then it's worth it. And I don't care that it doesn't come with a stand. Now, I will say this. I do think Sony is being a little greedy. Not arrogant, but definitely a little greedy with not adding the disk drive and selling the disk drive separate. But you can still put it on there. So it is what it is. It's to me definitely a little greedy. It's like, dude, take the hit on the disk drive and get over yourselves. Like, oh, y'all are annoying. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not like crying, like, oh my God, why they ain't added this drive? I'm just like, man, they should have added the disk drive, right? Outside of that, this made me realize that Sony is in this place with me where like I'm actually happy with my PlayStation 5 and I've enjoyed a plethora of games and beat more games than I've ever beaten in my life. Now I definitely can akin that to me actually being factually retired, you know what I'm saying, and not having to work, but you know I have a little part-time job to get out the house, but I got most of my days where I can just do whatever I want all day long, you know what I mean? And so I know that's a part of why I'm beating more games. You know, and I had more of a life, but now my kids are grown. You know, they moved out the house, and it's, you know, just me and my baby girl. So I don't really, you know, we're getting older. We don't do as much. We still do stuff, but I just got a lot more time on my hands. Not that y'all care. Like I said, I told you it's gonna be going on tangents and being all over the place. Let me get back to the point. The point of the matter is, um, I've thoroughly enjoyed the games I've been playing, but there's this thing that's been happening with PlayStation for me where like they're doing a good job at presenting games in a reasonable manner with their shows and showcases and state of plays. But they're doing an absolute terrible job of hyping me up. I'm not talking about nobody else. I said me, right? And what I mean by that is like there's three showcases that they had since this generation has went on, right? Have been height wise, like the first one was like an 8, the next one was like a 6, went up to a 7 because of Wolverine, but officially it was a 6. You know what I'm saying? Wolverine just, I could say, gets that extra point, right? Because I love Wolverine. But being that it was one of the games that's like 4 or 5 years out from its announcement, it's officially a six, right? And then the last one with Concord and Marathon and them, that joint was a legit four for me, like damn near three, because while I was interested in seeing what those games were, and I was probably the most hype I've ever been for a conference because while they didn't have a ton of first party stuff, they had some games I was interested in, and then they had three brand new, fresh idea games that I was excited to see, and then they hit me with the, you know what I'm saying, doo doo water, dumpster juice, no gameplay, and like you can do that for God of War because I know what God of War is. I don't need a trailer immediately. Although I do really want to see gameplay, you can give me a CGI trailer or a title screen and say a release window or whatever because I know what God of War is. I just can't wait to see how much better it looks and like what they add and what they do with it. You could do that with Horizon and all the other games that have even third party games, Final Fantasy and stuff because I know what these games are and I know what they're going to be like. And even though Final Fantasy 16 threw me for a loop, visually it was on the level of Final Fantasy games. Story wise, it was like right there with Final Fantasy games. Gameplay wise, it's weird that drank threw me for a loop and I wasn't excited for it. But that's nor here or there. The bottom line is you went to these, I watched these showcases and I watched like the first one and I saw Miles Morales. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Ratchet and Clank, I never really cared about. And I was like, oh, this joint looks really dope. And because of it, I went back and played the remake of the original and completely enjoyed myself and never knew Ratchet and Clank games were that fun. Like, I'm not saying they weren't fun, I just never was interested in them, right? I only played like one Jack and Dexter game. I played more Crash and Spyro than I did anything else. So I really wasn't into Jack and Dexter or Ratchet and Clank like that. I played one Jackster game, didn't beat it, but I played like half of it. And it was fun, but it wasn't fun enough for me to beat. So that's nor here or there. The bottom line is I saw games that I were interested that I was interested in, but they didn't like blow me out the water because like, oh, it's just, it's Miles Morales. That's cool. It looks dope, and I'm excited for it. But like, what you got? What's? Give me something new, Sony. Give me something new, and they didn't. They gave you the God of War title screen. I think in that one, I'm pretty sure they gave me Ratchet and Clank. They gave me Returnal. They gave me Little Devil Inside, and I was super excited about Little Devil Inside, but it's an indie. So like why that actually was the biggest hype for me was Little Devil Inside. Legitimately, that was the game that I was most hyped about. That's not like taking me to like brand new levels of hype. I'm talking about AAA hype, not games that I'm like I'm buying that day one because it just looks interesting, whether it's trash or not. That's what Little Devil Inside did, And I don't remember all the games, Volcano High and a bunch of other stuff that I was like, okay, cool, 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 cool. But while I beat Spider-Man Miles Morales, I saw Bugsnax didn't care. I beat Sackboy, that was in there. Uh, I platinum, Miles Morales. I beat Ratchet and Clank platinum that. I played Kenna. I didn't platinum that, but I beat it. Um, I tried Returnal, wasn't my thing. Um, you know, I enjoyed the games. I really did. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the games, but they weren't anything new. And a lot of those games were, to me, PlayStation 4 games. Ratchet is officially first PlayStation 5 game, but the rest of them games was PlayStation 4 games, not Returnal. Returnal definitely wasn't. So those two were PlayStation 5 games, but they weren't like impressive. Ratchet looked really good, but it wasn't impressive because of the art style and stuff. It wasn't like what I was looking like the next Cyberpunk or something. You know what I mean? Something to that like level, Witcher or something like that. It just wasn't that. So I'm looking back and I'm going, man, I just wasn't super hyped about the first show. I just thought it was a really, really good show. It was an 8 for me because regardless if the games hyped me or not, I was like excited to play these games and I played them. And and then I like the way Sony is doing all their showcases. They are very consistent with this, and the numbers are a little variant. Okay, each showcase, each PlayStation State of Play, but if they have a showcase, right, they'll show like 30 games, and within those 30 games, they'll have like 23 games that come out between the first 3 to 18 months. Spider-Man 3 months, Ratchet 6, Returnal 7. Um, Kenna and all that other stuff, right? Then they'll have like two games that'll be like pushed back for like 1 to 2 years. So that was God of War, right? And like another game that I can't think of. Then they'll have like, so that's 30, that's 25 games. So then you'll have like five left, and you'll have like three games that like won't be out for like uh you have three games or so high, a little bit more, a little bit less, but you'll have about three games that will go on that'll like show and they won't be out for like 4 to 5 years. So something like Little Devil Inside, that game is still being said is coming out. We've seen other trailers for it, and it still hasn't been out, and it's almost going on 4 years that that game has not released, right? And that was the most anticipated game for me out of that whole showcase, right? And then you have like two games that are shown, and then they just go start zero, like almost as if they don't exist, and you don't even know if they're coming out. And they're like Pragmata, that came out in the first conference, if I'm not mistaken, and from Capcom with the little cat and the moon person, and somehow they was on Earth, and Earth was weird, and then you're on the moon. That game, and I'm pretty sure it's called Pragmata, and we haven't heard nothing from Pragmata since. I don't even know if that game still exists anymore. So, they do that. I think another one is Lost Soul Aside. They've been showing that game for years, and that game is just still. Is it gonna come out? You know what I'm saying? What else they got? Uh, then like you get the second show. I think was 2021, and you had like Horizon and Gran Turismo, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, and a bunch of other stuff, right? But those are most prominent. And like as a Gran Turismo fan, I'm like, sweet, couldn't be any better. You know what I'm saying? Great sequel, looks amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it, played it. Horizon is my favorite PlayStation franchise, right? Used to be Infamous, and before that, it was like their sports games, factually, like 989 Sports, like NBA Finals, Final Four, and 99 Game Breaker, and NFL and NBA. Like those games were like my favorite from PlayStation One and stuff, and then God of War and so forth and so on. But the bottom line is Horizon has taken the top spot as the best PlayStation franchise to me. And Forspoken did not let me down. I mean, Forspoken. Horizon Forbidden West did not let me down whatsoever. That game was fire. Burning Shores was fire for me. Um, Spider-Man 2 was a really good game, but again, like I said, Sony did the same thing. You had Horizon and Gran Turismo and a couple other games come out within the just like some smaller games that came out within the first 3 months, all the way up to 18 months. In between that, you had Horizon, Gran Turismo, then you had Spider-Man 2 get pushed back 2 years, the same way God of War did from the first conference. Like I said, you get games get pushed back to 1 to 2 years, and then you get games that go Stark Zero, Wolverine. Uh, Not Ghost Dark. That wasn't Ghost Dark Zero. Wolverine went to where that game was going to be 4 or 5 years, like Little Devil Inside, and then you get games that go Ghost Dark Zero. Like I said, what's it, Lost Odyssey or whatever the little Chinese game was. So uh, I think was Black Myth Wukong shown then? I don't remember, but there was like a game that we ain't heard about since. And then they skip 2002 and they come out 2023, and this is like their worst showing that they ever had, but yet for me could have been the most exciting showing. They finally come out with straight up, no gimmicks, no PlayStation 4 ported, nothing, just straight up PlayStation 5 directed games. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man 2 started the movement, and then here we go with the PlayStation 5, so we should be getting better and better each year. And they show fair games. And that looked interesting. I'm not into Payday, but I wanted to see gameplay. I was like, okay, piqued my interest. I know if it's first person, I'm kind of going to, and it's going to drop my interest, but maybe the gameplay will keep me in it. Rainbow Six was one of the few first person shooter games that, like, I saw and I was like, oh, it's a first person shooter, but then I saw the gameplay and I was like, I don't care. And it's very rare a first person shooter does that for me. But it did. So, um, there's that. So I'm still giving it the benefit of the doubt. Like Cyberpunk, I was super excited for, and then it went first person. I literally got so disinterested. And the more I saw it, the more I was like rolling my eyes, going, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, when it came out and it was full of blog, now I was like, dang, I was still interested, but now that it's broken, I don't care. And then when they finally got it all together and the expansion came out, and I was able to get the Legendary Edition for like $20, I bought it, and it probably was like one of my favorite games of this in the last generation, this generation, or wherever, however they placed it. I don't remember when it came out, but I was like, "Look, this drink was fire," and it's still one of my favorite games this generation. So, you know, first person is not. I'm not opposed to it. I play them. I just they're the lead, like some of my least favorite games. I just don't like the first person view, especially for action adventure. Like I really definitely don't care. Shooters a lot easier for me to digest. The single player, even as a shooter, it's a little harder, but it can be done. Like Cyberpunk showed me that. And then as a multiplayer, it's definitely the easiest to digest. So, um, but I don't know what those games are. But it was exciting. Those are three brand new, fresh ideas. No fresh idea that is of another license, i.e., Wolverine or anything. And I'm super excited. That's my favorite Marvel hero. But it's still a license game. You know what I'm saying? But I'm absolutely ecstatic. That made, like I said, that gave that show a 7 until I realized the game wasn't coming out for 5 years and it went back down to a 6. So you know what I'm saying? I'm still super excited about it, but I just you know the excitement kind of wearing off the longer I gotta wait. It'll come back as soon as it's shown and things like that, but it is whatever. But they didn't show anything. They didn't show fair games. They didn't show Concord. I don't care if Concord is the biggest joke of the generation now that we didn't seen it and I done played it and that type of stuff. But you know, it still would have been exciting to see whether I liked it or didn't like it. And I thought Concord was a fun game. So I think it's definitely the biggest joke of this generation. It took Starfield's place because Starfield was the biggest joke of the generation. Not because it's a bad game or anything, but because simply uh, it was just touted so highly, and Xbox fans was looking so desperately for a win with that game, and it just came out and it was just a solid, good game. You know what I'm saying? Some people love it. Most people thought it was just like not what Bethesda's supposed to do because Bethesda fans are very elitist about how Bethesda games are supposed to play, and it kind of fell flat on its face. Not that doesn't mean it was bad. It just came out like it came out roaring with all this momentum, and just the momentum when the game came out just came to a screeching halt. And while it still did good, and there was going to be Xbox fans and Bethesda fans that was going to praise it no matter what, just like there's PlayStation fans that's going to buy the PlayStation Pro no matter what. That's just all it is. You know what I'm saying? And the people that love it, they love it, and the people that didn't, they didn't, and it is what it is. But it was the biggest joke, you know what I'm saying? People kept, it's going to keep referencing, referring it to other space games and making fun of it and all those things, and the people that's loving it going to keep defending it, and it's the biggest joke. And now Concord, absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, unequivocally, is the biggest joke in this generation. Uh, and Starfield is second. So it is what it is. PlayStation got one big black eye, and Xbox got one big black eye. But PlayStation took a fat lip with one too. You know what I'm saying? They got punched in the lip too. They got hit twice. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I will say that, like I said, if Concord would have shown I definitely the marathon trailer I just enjoyed. I don't know why. I just really loved that trailer, and I really wanted to see the gameplay of that game. I'm not even a super Bungie fan, but I did play Destiny 2 in the last 2 years that it was out before Destiny. I mean, not Destiny. Destiny 1 the last 2 years before Destiny 2 came out, and they moved on. And my brother asked me to play that game from the day it dropped, and I was like, first person, and then finally, like the last 2 years, I don't know what was going on in my life at the time. I think I was just bored, and I was like, all right, bro, let's get on this joint, see what you talking about. I got in that joint, and me and my family, we started having a blast playing that joint. I'm like, dang, I missed out. I wish I was on board, but I kind of was happy I came in when I came in. I'm glad I didn't have to play that game for 3, 4 years or however long it was out. I don't even remember, but I'm glad I only got like 2 years with it. I got to enjoy the best parts of it and hop right off. And then Destiny 2 came out, and I'm like, I'm good, fam. I'm good on Destiny for a while. But Marathon, because of that, I know Bungie makes good games. I like their Halo games. I like their Destiny games. That Destiny one Destiny game I played, I watched my son play Destiny 2. It's just as good to me. But it's not something I want to play. And so I was like, Marathon it definitely might get me into moving. But they didn't show anything. So again, this was even worse because not only did it not have a lot of games that I wanted to play, like I don't even remember most of the games in that daggone showcase, and the ones that was the most prominent that I was looking forward to, they ain't had no gameplay for it. And like for me, you can have non-gameplay for God of War, Horizon, and those things of that nature, but you have to have gameplay for a game I've never heard of. I'm sorry, I don't want to see no cinematic trailer. I don't care how good the trailer is. And Marathon had for me was a really dope trailer for me. But they did have Stellar Blade. Like I do remember some of the games in the joint. Rise of Ronin didn't do anything for me. I didn't buy it. Uh, and they had some other games. Helldivers I already knew was going to be a beast because I played the first one, and the first one was phenomenal. Did well on PC, didn't do too great on PlayStation. And with PlayStation backing it, I just knew it was going to be a lot better. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny or like facetious or anything, like factually. And I knew people was like, wah, 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 wah. But when they played it, they was like, oh, this game's just fun and funny, right? Exactly what it is. This is what the first one was, except for the top one. The first one was isometric and top down view and stuff. And I think this being third person is a lot better. It makes the game a lot more fun because the first one was hilarious, but this one's like exponentially better. So yeah, man, I'm in this place where Sony is just like doing a phenomenal job presenting me great time frames, giving me the games I want to play, but not hyping me up at all. Like I'm like these games are dope, and I'm gonna buy them day one. I'm gonna play them, but they're not hyping me. Like I still haven't got that. Yo, I feel like this is the current gen feel. I still feel like we in. I can say next gen because we still ain't for me got the current gen that really makes me feel like I'm in the current gen. And so, uh, yeah, it's just a weird feeling. So it just makes me feel like Sony doesn't care, but they've been doing a phenomenal job. Like the hype has just been trash. Like just so trash. I know PlayStation fanboys and stuff looking at me crazy. Whatever, the hype has been crazy for me. Cool for you. The hype has been absolutely garbino sauce for me, but the games have been good. The pacing and the way they're presenting things, I'm like, this is keep doing this, Sony. Even the state of plays, you know what I'm saying? They're just like, I love the fact that they just take time to do deep dives straight through gameplay, no BS and no trying to hide nothing. They believe in the games that they're presenting, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying that. Like they do a Stellar Blade, a God of War, or Horizon, you know what I'm saying? Like these deep dives that make you go, okay, you know what I'm saying? They believe in it, so I'm gonna buy it. Or like I'm seeing it, and I'm going, why would I buy that? You know what I mean? Like at least it's giving you a chance. With they making sure they're getting a lot of demos out there, and they're, you know, getting a lot of demos out there and game trials at that. I bought and played Forspoken. I know that's one of the most hated games this generation, and I thoroughly love that game. That game is amazing. But I can understand how people can think the game is trash, and it got what it deserved. So I'm not mad at that. It doesn't change the fact that I find it one of my favorite games of this generation. But I'm not gonna try to act like it's the game of the generation or nothing because I like it. You know what I'm saying? My name ain't Tank Top Master. On front, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, like I don't know. I just don't know. I think Sony's VR is really good. The PlayStation Portal is absolutely phenomenal. Uh, I didn't get the Pro controller. I don't even know whatever the controller, the special controller. I didn't get that. I really wasn't that interested in it. Uh, I think Sony's been doing good. Again, they are because Xbox is definitely not. It may be going the way of the dodo bird as far as consoles go. And I don't know if I said this already or not. Like I said, I'm all over the place, kind of lost in thought. But if Xbox, as long as I told, on 60 frames, no lag, P Rock's thing, I told them boys, like, look, for me, if Xbox don't get rid of hardware, if they come out with another hardware, whether it's handheld, whatever they come out with, they're not out of the game. And I know they don't see it, but like to me, when I hear Xbox fans say, look, they can backdoor them, pause, or they can, come back into the game, by building their credibility through PlayStation and Nintendo, and then come back in the game and take everything back and go hardcore as an Xbox. That's something that can happen. If it's a low percentage, it's a low percentage, but you're not gonna tell me it can't happen because it can, and we all know that to be true. So like, um, whether you believe it's a high percentage, low percentage, is irrelevant to me. It can happen. So until Microsoft goes full third party and they don't have any type of console, and I mean any, I don't care what it is, I'm gonna always say Microsoft is still in the game. But right now, they're not putting no kind of pressure on Sony, not with none whatsoever. And with that being the case, I really do feel like the PlayStation 6 is 100% going to be in the Nintendo realm of we're not coming out and losing any money. If anything, the least we'll make it is to where we'll break even on every one sold. So we're not making any money, but we ain't losing nothing. We ain't losing no money from here on out because there is no Xbox. So we don't have to rush to the market and try to flood the market. Y'all gonna get it because it's the only thing to get, or y'all gonna move over to PC and y'all get our games a year or two later, and we're still fine with that. Or Sony might get a little bold and piss PlayStation fans off and say, "Hey, who cares? I'm going full. We're going full day and date." But I think they'll hold to the year or two for a little while, just because if they see that people do transfer over and they become like the central hub for gaming, while PC would never go anywhere, but they become like the central hub for gaming because people just find it easier to get a console and they become the number one console and kind of like eclipse PC and like how many people play on PC comparable to PlayStation, then they'll keep it a year or two. They might even renege on it all together and just say, nah, we ain't even giving nothing to PC. We want you to come over here to PlayStation, and that's probably the lowest of the percentages is in that. It's more than likely that you know people aren't moving over to PlayStation as much as they want. They're still getting really good PlayStation sales, and they just don't care anymore, and they just throw it over there to PC and say day and day and say we don't care. I don't know. Depends on where Sony's at, how they feel. Then they're gonna look at their numbers and stuff and make dumb decisions and good decisions all at the same time. So I do feel like though Sony is definitely never going to sell their systems for a loss if Microsoft goes fully away. Factually, they're going to charge every penny to break even or make a profit. They might even now, to me, they're not getting greedy till it's $50 and above. They try to make $50 and above on every system, then they're greedy. If they're anything $50 and below, then I just think they're being reasonable. They're trying to make a profit, and they're making a profit margin. I don't like it, and I don't want that, but I'm not about to act like, oh my God. And if they do break even, then they're being pretty fair. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. We not used to that. We used to them selling at a loss, da da da, woo woo woo. But I don't care, bro. I really don't. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Um, and people could call Sony the arrogant Sony or the thing. They just get to a point where look, we don't have to do the things we have to do for competition no more. You could be mad, glad, scratchy, you know what? But um, and I don't really see anything wrong with that. Them having to sell a console at a loss and try to make their money back up on the back end on software, and things of that nature. Like that's cool. I appreciate it, but I also understand if they don't want to do that. And if Xbox allows, gives them the space to do it, and that's what they do, it is what it is. Now, if they start going overboard and overcharging for the product that they're selling, trying to get out of pocket, that's where I'm like, all right, well, I'll figure something else out if I got to, or I'll just wait because I'm patient. You know what I'm saying? So that's what my head has been at with this PlayStation stuff. I know for a fact that if Xbox goes third party, PlayStation is definitely going to get in their bag of like, we're not losing no money. We're always going to be either breaking even or getting into a profit margin off a jump streak comparable to what we used to. And they will do some egregious things here and there, and they'll try their luck, and people won't buy it, and they'll adjust. You know what I mean? And they'll try their luck, and people will buy it, and then everybody else got to adjust. It is what it is. Um, but they still haven't hyped me, so I hope this state of play gets me hyped. I really do. I don't care if it's third party, second party, whatever. Just show me some games that get me hyped. Death Stranding 2 did not get me hyped, but man, does that game look graphically phenomenal. As a matter of fact, for those that think Hellblade is the cream of the crop, I don't know if I've done this video twice because I keep forgetting I had my mic on mute. So just like my third time doing this video, and I actually got my mic off mute this time. So I ain't doing this no more. But I don't remember if I said this in other videos, and I ain't going back to check to see if I said it in this one. But like Hellblade is an amazing looking game, especially cinematic wise. You know what I'm saying? Gameplay is not so much. It's kind of farther gap between the gameplay and the like when it goes to gameplay coming out of the cinematic. Like it is a drastic drop, but it still looks amazing in gameplay. It's just not as close to what the cinematics look, right? And I just think Horizon gameplay wise looks exponentially better than Hellblade, like for sure, like not even close. but cinematics wise is lagging behind. And I don't think the gap between their cinematics and the gameplay on Horizon is that far apart. And that's a PlayStation 4 game, so that just makes it even worse to me. But um, Horizon still looks amazing. And that was the point I was trying to make. That's what happens when you do a video that you just lost and throw it in the middle of the night. Uh, Forspoken. I mean, not Forspoken. Hellblade. Oh, Death Death Stranding 2 looks better than all that. Horizon, Forza. I mean, Forza Horizons. What is it? Flight Simulator and Hellblade 2. Like Death Stranding 2 eclipses these games. They're like the PlayStation 5 games that I was looking forward to seeing. And while I think that game looks incredible, and I'm pretty sure the gameplay is going to look pretty much like that, like I think the gameplay gap and cutscene gap angle is going to be pretty much almost like Horizon, like daggone near close to 1 for 1, not exactly, but almost. And I don't think any game looks better than that game, but I just don't care about Death Stranding. That's the bad part. So Death Stranding 2 is like incredibly credible graphically. Just it just is. I played the first one and I just was so disinterested. It's just like, all right. And like with a lot of these games I own, I'll come back and I'll try them, and maybe eventually it'll click on. Some of these games just don't; they just get deleted off the system, or I just put the disc in the little folders, or disc holder. I got a little 1,000, 2,000 disc holders, and I keep it moving because I just took an L. You know what I'm saying? I either bought a game or came across a game that I thought would I be interested in. I didn't. I do make those mistakes from time to time, so I'm absolutely prepared. Um, but yeah, the second one, I just like, if it's more of the same of the first one, it's definitely not gonna be for me, and it's gonna suck if it's like a game that I kind of want to play because he changed it up on me, and then I have to play the first one because that's the type of person I am. So, I hope it's just like within the same vein, so I can just go, yeah, this game looks amazing. I'm not gonna play it. I don't know the story of the first one. I ain't gonna know the story of the second one. I'm just, hey, it looks amazing though. Now I just need the games that I want to play to look like this as well. I don't need everything to look realistic. I just need a game or two for each generation that push the boundaries, look realistic, so I can get excited and feel like this is the reason I bought the system. And then they can keep coming out with the Grand Blues and the Helldivers and even the game. You see what I'm playing right now? You see the two games that I got running in the background. I got a got daggone pillar puzzle math game and what is this, Jonah Arc PSP? Like, come on, man. I enjoy these games. I beat both of them. I almost platinum the pillar game, but they made me play it. It was like you gotta play it twice and only fail 50 times. And if you seen it, I was probably failed like 20 times within just the video itself, and that was only like 4 or 5 levels. So like, yeah, that's okay. Or maybe like it was 10 levels, but it's like almost 100 levels in that game. And within 10 levels, I'm like failing like 20, 25 times. Like, yeah, I'm not getting that 50. I would have to cheat, and I just don't. And I'm fine with that. Like, if I beat the game on my own, that's always my rule. Beat the original game on your own. Once you beat the original game on your own, you can cheat as much as you want to get the trophies. I don't care. That's me. That's how I play. I'm gonna get as many trophies. If I enjoy the game and I'm trophy hunting in that game, I'm gonna get as many trophies as I can on my own. I'm gonna beat the game on my own, no help. And then I turn back around, and if I decide to play it again, or I feel like it's worth trying to get the platinum or something, I can use whatever guides I want. But sometimes I don't even want to use a guide. Like, it's just like I'm gonna have that game is it's like it's not 100 puzzles. I think it's like 94 or something like that puzzles, but it's in the 90s of puzzles. I'm not trying to like go from puzzle to puzzle, looking at a phone, trying to go to the puzzle, looking at a phone, going to the puzzle for 94 times. Like, yeah, the game will be easier, but I'm just not interested in doing that comparable to like even this game, right? I can platinum this, and this one's super easy. Don't need no guide for it. Everything's pretty much self-explanatory, but I just enjoyed the game for what it was. I played it on my PSP back in the day, and I just wanted to kind of run it back. I ran it back. Even on my PSP, I never beat this game. I got to the final chapter, and now that I've played it, I think it's like 4 or 5 uh, stories in the final chapter or whatever, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, I decided why not go back and actually beat it since I stopped at the end of the game. So Um, yeah, like I'm not saying that I need all my games to be Last of Us, Grand Theft Auto S, but I do need a decent amount of games to show me that. So, that's how I am. Just weird like that, where I just want the power to be shown in that facet. So what I'm saying, that's what helps me feel like I bought what I was supposed to. Even though I feel like the system was worth it, I still feel like I still didn't get that wow moment. So I can be like, oh, okay, now I'm good. Um, let me think. About to wrap this up. Been rambling long enough. It's almost 40 something minute video long, and I know y'all don't like that type of stuff. But I don't care. I'm looking for the people that's going to watch this, like, subscribe, and notification, and all that stuff, and enjoy the videos. I'm going to be long winded in some videos, short in others. All right. I don't care. Um, so, yeah, I'm just enjoying myself. I've enjoyed Grand Blue. I enjoyed Final Fantasy 16, not as much as the normal Final Fantasy because the gameplay was not Final Fantasy by any means, but I do enjoy Rebirth and Remake. While I hate the changes in the story, like really hate the changes in the story, um, I still love the gameplay because although they went like a kind of action route, it's still very much so turn based, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Um, yeah, I've enjoyed this generation, man. I've beaten a lot more games than ever. And it is what it is. And I enjoyed the games, and I probably platinum more games than I ever have too. So I'm just haven't been excited yet. Like that Matrix demo excited me. That Unreal Engine game excited me. Now I will say Spider-Man at least got that motion down where you're going through the city super fast and it's actually processing everything, and it's not a bunch of pop in and things like that. There's some pop in, but ain't no screen tearing. It's just straight up you flying through the city at like rapid speeds, you know what I'm saying? And it's super dope. Like I thought that was dope. So they at least got that part down. And Death Stranding is starting to give me the Matrix graphics I wanted. So I know other games can get there. And I don't want to hear this diminishing returns BS. You know what I'm saying? I think indie games are really pushing the genres forward and ideas and things like that. I can't play with the play Pixel, a little book game, Pixel book or pixel art or whatever that games that's coming out that you can jump inside a book and then go into a 3D world. Like again, the creativity in the indie space is amazing, and hopefully they can make it applicable to the AAA space while also doing the AAA thing. So, that's it, man. I'm your boy, The Truth, and I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all for listening if you got this far and leave comments, man. Tell me what y'all feel about this generation. Tell me what y'all feel about the PlayStation Pro. Give me your foresight. And I'm out.